All right, troops, welcome to the Action Elite. My name is Owen, and happy Friday. Hello, J-Man and Stephen. How are you?
Hey, Owen.
Hey, good.
Thank God it's Friday.
Oh, amen. Yeah, I got a 3-day weekend coming up, so looking forward to doing absolutely nothing. So,
Nice.
uh, so thanks everybody for joining us, and you guys as well for joining me for tonight's chat. So this may not be as long as some of our other ones, which some of you may be relieved to hear, uh, but tonight we're going to be talking about one of my personal underrated gem movies, and I thought, let's do an underrated gem show rather than an article. So we're going to talk about Hard Rain, starring Christian Slater. So let's start off with Stephen. What are your thoughts on Hard Rain?
So J-Man may or may not remember this, but we talked about Hard Rain pretty early in our friendship, and I remember that I really surprised him because for the longest time I had a grudge against Hard Rain because of a missing line from the trailer.
Right.
And that missing line was when Randy Quaid, they're like, but you're the sheriff. And in the movie, he just takes off his badge and he throws it, right?
Yeah.
But in the trailer, he said, I'm the what?
I'm
And I
what?
love that line for some
what?
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they didn't have it. I was waiting all movie for that line when he just threw it. And it was very anticlimactic. I was like, what the hell is going on? It was my first real introduction to something I liked in the trailer, wasn't in the movie. And it annoyed me for the longest. And that was my first things I think I said to J-Man about Hard Rain was the line from the trailer was missing.
I do remember you saying that. And I remember it not being there as well. I'm like, wait, is there a missing line here? Because you could tell that's where he would have said it.
Yep. Yeah.
I remember that too from the trailers as well. And it was sort of one of the first times I noticed that there was stuff in the trailer that wasn't in the movie, because we've so many movies since then where you watch the trailer and you're like, wait, where's all this footage which you showed us which is not in the movie? But I particularly remember that line because I loved that line because I loved Randy Quaid in the movie as well. Yeah. To me, it still holds up. It's a really sort of fun disaster and action movie. I remember when it first came out, or before it came out, it was called The Flood.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they changed it to Hard Rain just to give it more sort of an action-y title. So, and welcome to John, who has arrived.
Hello.
But,
how are you doing?
Good.
Good. It's Friday.
Yeah, we only just started like 10 seconds before you, so you're all good.
You're good, yeah.
But it's really, on subsequent watches, I've forgiven the movie for not having that line, even though I burst out in laughter whenever I watch it. Like, Randy Quaid is so good in this movie as the, he seems like that solid guy who's going to be like, he's going to be on the side of Christian Slater. And he ends up being the guy that Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater have to team up against, which is crazy when you think about it, because the movie set up very much that Morgan Freeman's going to be, the antagonist, and that's it. And it turns out that no, he's sort of, the anti-hero, I guess, because Christian Slater is obviously the hero. I love the interaction between him and Ed Asner, Charlie. Like, I could have when I was kind of like, can't we have more of him and the two of those guys? Because it was like the perfect young person and curmudgeon-y older man sort of together. Like, I thought that was perfect. And then when they shot Ed Asner, I'm like, must Ed Asner die in everything I watch? I don't know if he actually feels that way. It's got great action. Minnie Driver, for some reason she got caught in that Good Will Hunting flood, where anyone who was associated with that movie I didn't like, except Robin Williams. And then I slowly warmed up to her. But again, when I first saw, I'm like, oh, really, Minnie Driver from that Good Will Hunting movie? But then subsequent viewings, I enjoy her a lot more. It's an unsung hero for sure. And it's a great example of 90s action where it's very clever. It's got a good storyline. It's not just action, though it does have the action, like Morgan Freeman coming out of the water with the guns. I love that. It's sort of like, you think of a disaster movie. This is actually a disaster movie with a plot, which you never see, because usually the plot is the disaster movie.
Right.
Right. And it's written by a guy I couldn't get enough of in the 90s, which was Graham Yost, who was, if anyone in Canada remembers, he's Elway Yost's son. Elway Yost was, of course, a very famous TV presenter. He did a lot of. Sean would know more than I would. Unfortunately, he's not here. But like he would do the. I don't know if it's CHCH, but he would do the movie talk things, you know, and that, and he would introduce movies. And his son is Graham Yost wrote Speed, which is my favorite '90s action movie.
Yep.
Broken Arrow, and this. And unfortunately, I don't know what else he wrote because he seemed to disappear after Hard Rain. I don't know why. Terrific film. It's a movie I've endlessly searched for on Blu-ray. I've never found it yet, at least not for a price that wouldn't cost me to mortgage my house again. So, yeah, it's terrific. Christian Slater's at his best. I can't say enough about how good this movie is.
There's something about Christian Slater where he's always just immediately appealing as soon as he comes on screen. He's just got that, his pure star power. I mean, I think he sort of dropped off for a few years there, but anytime in the 90s when he was in a movie like Pump Up the Volume, which isn't an action movie, but I love the movie anyway. Like, yes, it's very much a product of the time. You watch it now, you know, it's a little dated, but I still adore every minute of it. But he's just such an appealing character on screen. The character of Tom, I think his name is, which is amazing character name. But he's generally very sort of likable as well, even when he's busting Ed Asner's balls at the beginning about the crappy job, whatever. But it just sort of felt sort of realistic. And I loved all the practical action scenes as well. This was before the days of CGI, so we had like real explosions, and it has a jet ski chase in a school, a flooded school. I mean, what's not to love there? Every action movie needs more jet ski chases, I'm of the opinion of. So yeah, no, I really enjoy it. I also love that Christopher Young did the score to it, and the music, although it's a little over the top, I love it. It's amazing. And he did the music to Priest, which is one of my favorite recent movie scores. It's like a classic movie score. And speaking of which, I was thinking of at some point in the future, in the next few weeks, maybe doing a live stream where we talk about Priest and Legion and maybe religious-themed action movies. It's like new genre they started, so that'll be something kind of different we'll go into. Before we continue, hello, Brennan. I haven't seen you for a while. So Jay, your thoughts, Hard Rain.
Well, I saw it in the theater. I loved it. Besides the score and Christian Slater and all the other things that you guys have mentioned, this is to me almost like a perfect movie in the sense that like everything is set up nicely. Changing the name from The Flood was a good thing to do because The Flood says the plot is about the flood, and as Steve pointed out, it's not about the flood. It's just part of the action. It does lend to a lot of great, you know, we're almost going to drown, but we kind of just get out. He's trapped in the cell. She's handcuffed to the banister. But I wanted to mention something where this is almost a less is more scenario. The characters in this movie are all very memorable, and there's not that many of them. So I can keep track of what characters are where, who got shot, who, you know, where everyone is. It's very well crafted. I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy's in the boat. Yeah, they're in the boat. This guy's on the jet ski. This guy's on the jet ski. Okay, wait, this guy just crashed. So yeah, that's right. You know, as opposed to some action movies where there's almost endless thugs and you start to lose track. And when there's endless thugs, you never know when the action's going to end. So the suspense is actually a little bit lost because you're like, well, it'll just end when the filmmaker wants it to end. But having a set number of villains, a set number of locals, right? Betty White and, you know, a set number of the cops. So you got the cops, the villains, the locals, and you've got the two lead, like Minnie Driver and Christian Slater. And every moment of that movie, I know exactly where everyone is and how many of them there are. So I can follow it very, very clearly. Also, there's gunshots within 15 minutes. 15 minutes is the first gunfire. I always take a note of that.
Always a plus. Yeah.
That's a plus. It's very fast paced. It's under 100 minutes, which is what it needs to be. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It uses the flood as much as it needs to use it to have cool action scenes like the inventive stuff within the school. But it doesn't overuse it to the point where it's now, again, just a flood movie. But they still have to give you some of the flood elements, which is good. The twist is kind of cool because you're just like, whoa. And it kind of naturally happens, too. It doesn't feel like it's an M. Night Shyamalan. Oh, here we go. What time is it, guys? Half an hour left? There's half an hour left. Okay, the twist in 5, 4, twist, right? It's like you're just watching it, and all of a sudden you're just thinking like, wait, what the hell is Morgan Freeman teaming up with them now? What happened there? And you're almost like, whoa, this was really cool, really cool. It was a natural. It wasn't a plot twist. It was a plot twist, but it was naturally done. So it seemed like that was just part of the story. Getting the bag at the end, that one bag of money. I mean, come on, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like the guy went through all this shit, you know, like give him a little bit of a prize at the end. All the characters are cool because you have each guy is the leader of a faction. So Betty White's the leader of like the locals. And you got Quaid, who's the leader of the cops, and you got Morgan Freeman, who's the leader of the villains, and then Christian Slater, and then these guys all have little underlings, like she's got her husband and whatever, and they all have like guys underneath, and even they're memorable though. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like even they're the guy's always quoting the Bible, and then he's like, "I ran out of Bible quotes," you know.
Springsteen,
Springsteen, right? He's like, "I ran out of Bible quotes." I don't know, but you know, so that's the Bible quoting guy. Like everybody's got a thing. And Morgan Freeman, because there's a very important part to the character of Morgan Freeman when I forgot the names, but the young guy's dying, and he's dying. He's like, "Look, man, you're going to be okay," right? Like it's like what villain or what main villain who has underlings ever stops to comfort one of them as they're dying? There's no reason to do that if you're a strict hardcore villain, but this is a better class of villain. Like you're like, okay, this guy is not so bad, right? And Randy Quaid, you could see through the interactions in the beginning where, you know, the mayor treating him like crap. You're like, you know, this guy's had a shit life in this town. People don't respect him. You know, Betty White's mouthing off to him. He's like, you know, screw this. Where he's like, I can take this money right now and it's done. You know, and I even like when they're negotiating, they're like, look, okay, I'll tell you where she is. Give me a couple bags. You know, who cares? I liked all that. Like it kind of made it a little bit more, I don't want to say realistic, you know, it's not, but it made it more real because the characters weren't just evil to be evil.
Yeah, they felt like real people though, like because everybody is flawed. And, you know, there's even when Morgan Freeman even asked Christian Slater at one point, he says, you know, how many times have you thought about taking the money? And he's like, you know, how can you not? You know, so everyone has that thought process, and it just, you know, it made it more interesting. And the fact that you have him, was it Ricky? Is that his name, Richie? The young guy. Whenever he dies, I can't remember his name.
I don't remember. It was Kenny. I thought it was
Kenny.
Kenny.
That's
because I thought, oh my God, they killed Kenny. Yes,
yeah, that's right. You bastards. But that scene there, and you've already got empathy from him. It's like, oh wait, he's showing empathy, so therefore he's not a villain. So then, whenever the twist comes, you're not like, oh come on, that came out of nowhere. But no, he's never that evil. So, you know, whenever he essentially sort of turns around, it works really well, and it keeps everything unpredictable. Like, you don't watch a film, you're like, oh, I know exactly how this is going to go. I mean, it goes all these different directions, and the biggest twist is actually finding out about Charlie, and that he was actually friends with Morgan Freeman. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
That was a twist, and he didn't call the National Guard. He's like, son, they're not coming. Like, I know you're stalling. They're not coming. He was calling me, and you're like, oh my God. That was good too, and I believe that Morgan Freeman wouldn't have killed. Like I believe him. He's like, guys, just walk away. This isn't like Lord Humongous where he's like, just walk away, and you're like, no, I don't think so. He's gonna kill you. I believed Morgan Freeman. He's like, look, just walk away. We're taking the money, and he would have taken it because he wasn't there to kill people, right? Even before the Charlie twist, where they said that he was working with them, I still believed him.
Yeah, he was a thief, not a killer. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean. I forgot to mention, I even like Morgan Freeman's intro to this, where he's just at the bar and he's doing a crossword puzzle. Like, it's very mundane. And then Kenny's talking about, you know, mentioning the job and that. And Morgan Freeman doesn't shut him up. He's like, Kenny, can you help me with, like, you know, 8 down or whatever? And Kenny's like, Jim, you know I'm not good at these. He's like, no. Like, just
take a look.
Take a look, yeah.
And it's like, shut the hell up or whatever. Yeah.
So mention the word money again and I will kill you.
And
the other guy's like, oh, I can help you with that crossword. He's like, no, he's got this.
No, that's fine.
He's fine. He's got this.
Mind your business.
Oh, man.
I was going to say, yeah, that's really awesome. So, John, over to you. What do you think, Hard Rain?
So it's kind of funny, like, because when you mentioned that you're going to do a show on this, I was like, holy shit. I was like, Hard Rain. I I feel bad because I kind of forgot about the movie. It kind of got lost like in time.
Yeah.
It's like I remember, like everybody else, I went to see it at the movie theater. I loved it. I even got it when it was on, VHS. So, but it's like watching it the other day. It was like watching it for the first time because it's like, I hadn't seen it for so long. But I love Christian Slater, and I was like reading on the IMDb, like it was too bad because like I think he would have been. I mean, he is kind of big in a way. Like a lot of people know who he is, although my wife does. I almost want to be like, "What? You don't know who Christian Slater?" My wife's probably she hasn't seen a movie though person since she doesn't know who he is. But I'm like, well, let me rectify that, But it's like he had problems, out in real life, with drugs and stuff like that. I think he would have been a bigger star. I mean, he probably would have been like way bigger. And I always consider Christian Slater. I call him the whoopsie action star because it's like whoops, because he's like just this regular guy. He's like a guy that you go to work with, or a guy that that you just hang out with. But then he gets thrust into this situation where it's like, oh, now I got to become an action hero, and he's like running around with guns and everything. It's like he always played that, and like he's got charisma. And I always remember when he first came around, like I saw him. The first movie I saw him in was Gleam in the Cube. Does anybody remember that?
Oh
yeah, Gleam in the Cube.
Yeah. That's a great movie. They killed his brother. And he's like, that's it. It's over. And Tony Hawk's in that too. I love that movie.
So yeah, like that was my introduction to him. So I've been with Christian Slater forever, and it's like I love him in Cuffs. He's freaking hysterical in that movie.
I got
the going to mention Cuffs
on my phone.
Oh yeah, so yeah, but like I love that movie, and it's just the scene where him and Tony Goldwyn, and he gives Tony Goldwyn the thing in his Greek. It's just like classic. That is like the most classic comedy. It's just like Laurel Hardy, it's just like it's a funny thing. But he always had that kind of he's the actor who can do it all. I mean, he could do action, he could do drama, he could do comedy. It's like, and even when he does the action, he's believable because ordinary people, when thrust into circumstances like this, can do extraordinary things. And it's believable. And how can you not, like you already mentioned it, but how can you not love a movie where Morgan Freeman pops out of the water John Woo style? It's like, and not only that, it's like it's got all these great deaths. Guy gets electrified, falls into the water, and then Randy Quaid's death. Technically his first death, he gets propelled back by the boat motor, and then you think Minnie Driver is going to have this awesome FU moment where she's going to shoot him, and then the gun's not loaded. She's like, oh shit! But then him and Morgan Freeman just start unloading on him, and it's like, how can you not love this movie? It's like, and like Owen said, it's practical effects, and they shot it. And another just read that Morgan Freeman hates this movie. He doesn't admit that he was in this movie. So that's kind of a shame because it's like it's not a bad movie. It's like it's a fun
a lot of stuff he's done. This is the guy who was in Vanish earlier on this year, which is the worst film I've seen this year. But I remember because he's like, "Did any of you see this movie? Don't, just don't." And I was like, "That's a bit harsh, Morgan."
And I also read that there was this version of the movie that he died, and test audiences didn't like it, so they just decided they're like, "Oh, fuck it, you're gonna live, you're gonna take some money, and go live your happy life," It's like, so.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and then actually, in early stages, John Woo was actually supposed to direct it. Which would have been cool because that's why you get some of the slow mo, and then you got him coming out of the water and everything. It almost kind of feels like a John Woo movie.
Can I say too?
You may.
One of the best movie posters of the 90s, like Christian Slater's in it, like running away, and there's like just this flood, and you see the shadows in the background, and it's like red and blue. Like it's really nice. I really like that poster a lot.
Well, the tagline too, something like the perfect plan, gang of thieves, just add water. It's like
Oh, we got to do a tagline stream.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I have so many. But
so do I. Yeah. Do you know one of my favorite ones is just well remembered, completely unrelated. But one of my favorite ever taglines to a movie is actually from Predator 2. and it's like
coming to town
silence.
for a few days.
He's got a few days to kill, and I thought, brilliant! What a brilliant play on words! I just love that.
Okay, well, I'm giving you one then too. Just it's a horror movie. It's for Funhouse. Pay to get in, pray to get out.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, that's the whole thing. Like that, it's like you pay to get in, pray to get out. Oh,
Is that a Toby Hooper movie?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. God, been a while since I saw it.
I mean,
but yeah,
I even like. I love that poster. I know it's not a tagline per se, but I love that poster from the Brothers Grimm, where it's like it's the feet are like the feet are sticking out of the cauldron, like they're being lowered into the cauldron or something, and
like
it
this.
says, it says, and they lived happily ever after.
They're being dunked or whatever.
Yeah, they're being dunked or whatever. That's great.
Yeah. One of the things I always sort of thought about Christian Slater whenever someone was like, he always came across like a young Jack Nicholson. I always thought they should play father and son at some point, just the way he speaks and the line delivery and everything. So, if they ever.
I was going to say that because I remember when he first came out, everybody compared him to a young Jack Nicholson. And if you watch, he's got his face, and like if he does it right, you're just like, this could be Jack Nicholson when he's like 25. When he first came out. So,
yeah.
He even has the speech patterns. Like you can almost hear Jack Nicholson when he talks.
Yeah, he sort of has this kind of deliberate delivery thing. Yeah. Apparently, also Minnie Driver hated working on the movie. I was like, everybody seemed to hate working on the movie because like they were soaking wet all the time, whatever else.
Yeah, she hated the water. Yeah, she couldn't stand being in the water at times. It's like, how much did you get paid? I'm like, I'll get wet if you pay me.
Yeah.
I'll take $10,000. You give me, I'll
still do it.
I mean, you're in a movie called Hard Rain. Water's going to be there. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, and prior to that, it was called The Flood. So it should have been like,
I don't like water though, so maybe I'll sign on for this movie. It's like, why?
That was like Erica Eleniak, who couldn't swim properly, and she was on the cast of Baywatch, and then they're like, you can't swim. You're very attractive, but
just wear a swimsuit.
Like, just wear a trim. Yeah,
just run in slow motion. You'll be fine.
That's all we need. That's all we need from that. There was water in Baywatch. I didn't even know.
Yeah. Water? Never noticed it.
When did this happen?
And like a few years ago, it was like 2000 something or other. Then Christian Slater did a movie called Hard Cash, which hasn't any relation to this movie. I was like, it should have been a sequel. I've never actually seen it. It was like him and Val Kilmer though. But I watched the trailer to it, and the trailer was sort of horribly put together. And I was like, I don't know if I ever watch it. So it's never been on my to watch list really. But he's done some great movies, though. I mean, apart from Hard Rain, like my favorite movie of his is Broken Arrow. I mean, Broken Arrow is awesome. I love Broken Arrow. You got that amazing music then.
I've got the soundtrack to that one too. Yeah.
So have I. Hans Zimmer, but also, does anybody remember when they used it in Scream 2?
Oh, what? Like
Anytime, in the movie, it's in Scream 2. I remember seeing this in the cinema, and nobody got this but me because I'm like,
I saw Scream 2 in the theater as well. I have to rewatch it.
Yeah. Anytime Dewey comes on screen, at first he comes on and it goes down, and it was the music from Broken Arrow, and I remember cheering it, and I was like, oh yes, this is the Broken Arrow music, and everyone's like, huh? Never mind.
Everyone's like, why is he cheering for David Arquette?
Yeah.
Well, I remember when
Sir,
they used
pants back on.
they used the Conan the Barbarian soundtrack, which is my favorite soundtrack and my favorite movie. They used that soundtrack for the trailer of Scorpion King, and it started off without seeing that it was Scorpion King, and I heard the music and I thought, holy fuck, it's Conan 3. I'm like, oh my god, and then it was The Rock. I'm like, this movie is trash. I'm never watching it. And I'm like, I was like sitting up in the theater, I was like, holy shit, it's fucking Conan 3. Oh my god. And then it was like The Rock. I'm like, oh, you suck. And I can't. I watched Scorpion King. I just can't get into it. I'm done. That trailer pissed me off.
Well, that was like they used the Saw music in the Valkyrie trailer. I thought that was like bizarre because
That's weird.
Yeah, it's like Valkyrie, and it's like na 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 na. I'm
Na,
like,
na, 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 na. Yeah.
is Jigsaw in this movie? Like, is this like his
That'd
great grandfather? Like,
That would have changed the tone of that movie.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Hitler was Jigsaw.
And then it's like he's not really dead. It's like Hitler's dead. They find him dead in the bunker, and then they pull out like a little note. It's like, you may think it's over, but it's not.
Na, na, na.
They do all these flashbacks, and he was setting stuff up like in case if he died. And then Tom Cruise is like, no.
That would have been better.
Yeah, that version would have been better, man.
Anyway, back to just Broken Arrow for a second, because I love the movie, and like I was obsessed with it when it first came out. But I love John Travolta in it as well. He's just this hilariously camp villain. Like whenever what's his name, Bob Gunton. He's like the guy who's like whining all the time, and then he like hits him in the throat. He's like, hush. Hush! It's just like so like over the top. He's hilarious. And then he also has maybe one of the best bad guy deaths of the 90s. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to stand in front of this missile in the stomach and get launched into it and blow up.
I remember his thing, because he had a thing where he kept talking through gritted teeth, because he kept saying, not to that near, not to that. Don't shoot the
the thermonuclear weapons. Yeah.
And he held his cigarette like this, didn't he? He held it really weird.
Yeah, I don't know what the big deal is. I really don't. Yeah.
And honestly, he goes, you're crazy. It's like, yeah, it ain't cool, or
isn't it cool? Yeah.
Is it cool?
Isn't that where the website Ain't It Cool got its name from? Was, you know, ain'titcool.com? I always thought they got the name from Broken Arrow. Yeah. I don't know if it is or not. I totally made that up, but I would have thought that's where he got it from, because it would make sense. It was roundabout. You know, that's where I would get it from. So that's what I should want to do, is to try and come up with a name for the site which had something, you know, like an action movie line in it. I was like, yippee-ki-yay.com, and I was like, no, that's not going to work, and I couldn't come up with anything. It was like the Action Squad, and then I was like, no. Then eventually came up with this. But anyway, but also, it's kind of defies genres. It's kind of a bit of everything. But True Romance is utter masterpiece. One of my favorite movies.
That's got one of the craziest shootouts ever at the in the whole. That's like freaking insane. It's like everybody's dying and everything. It's like freaking awesome.
And there's an incredible cast as well.
I was just gonna say, every person that's on the screen, not the people that are in the back credits, but the front credit, every name is like, oh my god, what? Holy shit, he's in this movie? What? No way. Wait, how many people are in this movie? Like literally
everyone
is in it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I love Brad Pitt though, where he's Floyd, just like a stoner, and he's like, don't condescend me, man. I'll fucking kill you.
And Floyd smoked the letter. It's like
he just smokes the letter.
Like, I wrote you a letter. He's like, oh, Floyd smoked it. And like Val Kilmer is like a random Elvis apparition. Like, it's just in his mind. You're like, okay, like who should we cast? Oh, Val Kilmer. He'll do a great job. It's like, okay. It's like every, Bronson Pinchot, like what the heck? I'm like
Gary Oldman as Drexel. I mean, Gary Oldman is fantastic in it.
Oh, he is great. I know, he's great. And like Sam Jackson shows up for 2 lines and then just gets skilled. And you're like, that was Sam Jackson. It's like, there you go.
That's another movie where you see a clip and it's not in the movie, and it's an extra scene with Christopher Walken in it. And he's like walking along, talking to people or something. I can't remember what it is he said, but I just remember seeing extra footage with Christopher Walken, because in the movie, he's only in that one amazing scene with Dennis Hopper.
Which is perfect. I like that you don't see more, because we learn everything we need to know about his character and how scary he is in just one moment.
Yeah, it just absolutely worked to him.
It was weird seeing Dennis Hopper as a cop. I was like, this might be the first police role for Dennis Hopper ever. Like, he's usually the criminal. Like, what the hell?
Well, he's the sheriff in Texas Chainsaw Massacre too.
That's true.
That's right. Yeah, the Lord of the Harvest. Yeah, as I was saying to you before, I'm one of the few people I actually prefer Texas Chainsaw 2 to the first one. I remember I saw the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in the theater, and I was like, "This sucks." I was like, "It's not scary; it's just noisy," and we found it really boring because it had been banned for so long in the UK, and it was hyped up, and it was the most terrifying movie of all time. And we watched it, and I was like, "This is boring." But then I've grown to love it over time. But I still prefer the second movie just because it's got more gore and it's got chainsaw fights in it. So
Yeah.
You got all the chainsaw fights.
yeah. So what else? Oh yeah, has everybody seen? I know you will, John. El Gringo with Scott Adkins and Christian Slater. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, nobody ever sort of talks about that one.
I've actually seen that one probably more than Armageddon.
I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen it.
He just plays a smarmy character in that, he's just totally devious, so it's like, but it's like well, of course he doesn't get as many like cool moments as he did in like the other movies. I was always I don't know if you guys seen this one. It was direct to video, but it had still pretty good cast with Soldiers of Fortune. Did anybody ever see that movie?
Yes, I remember Soldiers of Fortune. Yeah,
I did. Yes.
It had Ving Rhames and Sean Bean. I'm like, this is a pretty good movie. I mean, for what it was, I mean, I enjoyed it. And that was probably like his more action-packed role that he had. Like, so I was, but again, I haven't seen that one in a long time either. I'd have to rewatch that one too. But I always enjoyed that one too. Yep.
Yeah. Going back actually to Hard Rain, and everyone always goes on about Morgan Freeman all the time and saying they want him to narrate their life or whatever. But me, I want Sam Elliott to narrate my life instead. Team Sam Elliott all the time. I think he's got my favorite voice in Hollywood. I think these days. I mean, Morgan Freeman is way up there, but Sam Elliott is just a cut above. So absolutely love him.
He does those commercials for
Ram.
Yeah. Or no, it's the other white meat. He does those commercials too. Did you ever see those? Like pork?
Oh my gosh, no! I just know the Dodge Ram ones.
They must be American.
I just have a Dodge.
Yeah. It might be the United States. I don't know, but yeah, I remember those too. Like, I always laugh because it's like, hey, it's the guy from Roadhouse. And he's it's like, but he's got that voice where it's like, okay, I'll go out and get some.
He has such a great, like The Big Lebowski already is a great movie, and Sam Elliott is a narrator in the movie, and I'm like the Coen Brothers were just hitting on all cylinders with that movie.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect film. So we but
pretty much.
Yeah. Another film which everyone seems to hate, but I love. I think we discussed it a while back. But Christian Slater's in it. He doesn't have a huge role, but Bullet to the Head with Sylvester Stallone from Walter Hill.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I remember. I can't remember. There was some comment. Some dickhead commented somewhere anyway on some website, and he was saying, nobody's interested in watching these movies, from the 80s anymore. And I was like, first of all, I was like, speak for yourself. But I love Bullet to the Head, even though Christian Slater has a small role in it. It's still awesome. Stallone is totally badass in it. I mean, is it one of his best movies? No, but it's still damn good, and it was a lot better than anything else at the time.
Well, how
Sean
can you
had
not
to
love?
leave early on that one.
Yeah.
Sean and I went to. Did you come with us, Steve?
I came to, yeah.
Yeah, so the three of us went, and then Sean had some stomach pains or something, and I literally had to leave halfway through. And he's like, I gotta go home. I'm sorry, and he went home. So I don't know if he ever did. I bought it on Blu-ray. I don't know if he ever got a chance to see the rest of it.
I don't think he did.
That
was the one where Jason Momoa was.
Yes, they have an axe fight at the
that axe fight, man.
That's what I was gonna say. How can you not love a movie where Stallone fights Jason Momoa with axes? And because this is how dorky I am. Like, I freaking lost it. Like when Jason Momoa jumped over. I don't know. He jumped over something with the axe, and it was like all in slow motion and stuff like that. That was the coolest scene ever. It's like, how can you not? It's like people complain about it. It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's got action and it's got Stallone. Is it Rambo? No. Is it Rocky? No. But it's still pretty good.
It's still good.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that, everyone has to compare Stallone movies to those two. I mean, I get it because those are the big ones.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the man can't have a career outside of those two. movies.
That's why I like the Expendables. He created Barney Ross. That's what just like Jeff said. You know, he was like, "Screw it, I'm going to just create another franchise." You know, I was like, I'm 70 years old, but I'm just like, you know, I haven't done enough yet. So it's like we just created that one. You know, that's awesome. You know,
well, people can't decide. People can't decide what they want because they say, "Oh, what, another Rambo movie?" Well, every time he does do a Rambo and he does a different movie, everyone's like, "Oh, well, I just want to see another Rambo," or "We only want to see him as Rambo." It's like, okay, well, what do you want? Like, it's like, you know, the guy does a bunch of movies and then he does separate, and then you're like, "Oh, I want the formulaic, you know, Rocky Rambo stuff." It's like, okay. Then when he does one of those, like, "Oh, great, another Rambo movie. Who gives a shit?" It's like, well, what do you want from this man? Like, he tries different things. Like, he's tried comedies, right? Like, he's literally tried different genres, and they're saying, "Oh, he's just Rambo all the time or Rocky all the time." It's like, well, no, he's a lot of things. All, you know, he does a lot of different kinds of roles, but you're not paying attention to them.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep. So here's Jimmy Smith is here tonight, our fellow Canadian. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey.
Hard Rain is all underrated 90s slick. Yeah,
for sure.
And then this is about bullet to the head. The action fans liked it, and that's all that matters. Critics won't like it, that's for sure. 'Tis true.
But critics aren't what they used to be. Now it's a bunch of a-holes who think they're better than everybody else and don't want to appreciate a movie for what the movie's trying to do. It's like, I'm tired of comparisons as well, like where it's like, "Oh, this isn't as good as this." It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, was that in the mission statement of this movie? Was the mission statement of Bullet to the Head to say it will be better than Rambo 3? Like, I don't understand. When did you get the impression that was supposed to be the point of this movie? The point of this movie is to tell a story with these characters and have action scenes with these new characters. It's like, or even cross-genre comparisons, like as though somehow, you know, Citizen Kane or something, which is a 10 out of 10, great, fantastic, classic film, one of the best of all time. How is that going to be compared to Bullet to the Head? Like, I'm sorry, is this the same audience? Like, target audience, there's when the movie was made. You know, you don't watch a movie that was made in 1980 and be like, "Oh, scoff at the stop motion or something. Oh, the stop motion's cheesy." It's like, well, you obviously have no frame of reference in history, and you're a moron, and you're kind of an asshole. Because when I show movies to my nieces and nephews who are very young and they haven't been tainted by dumbass opinions yet, they're loving them. And my niece from on my sister's side, she was watching the most rubbish cartoon I've ever seen. I don't know what it was. It was awful. And she's like mesmerized. She's like, "Wow." And she's like, they're Indian, so it's like they say Misho. They're like, "Misho. Oh, look." And I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And I'm thinking, this is awful. But they're, you know, they're loving it, right? And who are you to tell them that you know they're wrong, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the problem is that we listen. People, I don't think we listen. Citizen Rain. I don't think we listen, but like people who listen to critics, like, you don't go to a movie because it's your job. And if you do, I don't want to listen to you. Like, because how many people, like, what film critics wanted to see Bullet in the Head? Like, what film critics booked their hand? Like, probably none of them. So why are you reviewing this movie that you already have a predisposition to not like? Why should I listen to your opinion? Because you're walking in with that bias.
I don't know. I agree and disagree a little bit, only because if you're only going to watch the movies you want and think you'll like, and then you're a critic, you're not a critic because you're just watching movies you enjoy and you're reviewing what you enjoy.
Right.
I like the idea that there's someone who's a professional person who watches everything that comes out. Not, I'm going to only watch Suicide Squad because I only care about DC movies, and now I'm going to tell you it's the best because that's all I care about. I think you can run into that danger. Right now, I think film criticism is the two extremes, which is like, I'm a super snob, I only like these snobbish movies, and that's all I care about. Or I'm against the snobs just to be against them and say everything that comes out is great, which is why you see Rotten Tomatoes scores where they're so high, and the critics and the fans are like, "This is absolute trash. Like, what are you guys talking about?" It's either snobbery or, you know, I love anything that's DC or Marvel. If it's a Marvel movie, it's automatically 10 out of 10. Like, Shang-Chi will come out, oh, it's 10 out of 10, it's brilliant. Another Marvel triumph. It's like, well, okay. I don't think there's enough middle grounds for somebody to actually investigate and be like, wait, how did I come to this review? And is this really that good, or is this really that bad? So I agree with you, Steve, in what you're saying. If it becomes just a job and you're bored at your job, I think if you're a film critic, you want to be one, and you're excited about watching movies. Like Roger Ebert gave Return of Swamp Thing thumbs up. He's like, I like Return of Swamp Thing. It's goofy and fun, right? And he also and Siskel gave Mortal Kombat thumb up. He's like, I'm recommending Mortal Kombat, right? So they weren't as bad as they are now. Where it's so
definitely.
It's they just walk in and they already know the review. They're like, oh, strong woman, female character. Terminator Dark Fate is a fantastic film. It's like, no, it's not. It's ass. Like, did you watch the other Terminator? At the very least, I expect you to have at least seen the other Terminator movies, whereas a film critic probably would have seen them because it would have been part of his job to see them, versus someone who's just reviewing Dark Fate on the concept of, oh, it's all strong female women, so you man babies need to, shut your mouth. This is a great movie. Is it though? What was the plot? Oh, I don't remember the plot. Oh, right. You only reviewed they review the concept, not the movie.
The plot was the Terminator sold drapes and didn't have
that's awful.
But they were nice drapes though.
They were good drapes. Carl sold good drapes.
I'd buy my drapes from Carl any day, definitely.
Me too. Me too.
I mean, I mentioned, I can't remember if it was with you guys a few weeks ago, but do you remember whenever I went to see Angel Has Fallen, and I was at a press screening for it, and the guys were there, and there's that guy who I wanted to attack, and he said, I can't wait for a geostorm to happen in this or something, another great Gerard Butler movie, and I was like, and he was just one of those type of people who you would just never get tired of punching. But it's just these people who go in with this predisposition. You're like, oh, this is going to be stupid and blah blah blah. So yeah, I despise critics, but the Action Elite is the Anti Critic. So it's like we review it from the perspective of a fan. Like I never consider myself a critic. I'm a fan.
But those are the sort of attitudes that causes a movie like Hard Rain to be forgotten. Right, like because of that sort of attitude. I'm sure that Hard Rain has its fans. Like we all remembered it. We're like, oh yeah, Hard Rain, right? But like it never went anywhere. It seemed.
No. Yeah, it sort of came and went with little fanfare, and I think that was around the time when Christian Slater started to go off the rails a little bit. I believe, and that maybe put a stall on it. But it's too bad because it was still a fun action disaster movie and great set pieces, surprisingly like good performances by everybody as well. It's like well acted, and you cared about the actors, and there was a genuine sense of peril throughout. You've got the natural disaster, and then you've got the criminals trying to hunt them down and everything, so anything could go wrong at any time. It kind of reminded me of the movie Crawl, which was out last year, remember, with the alligators, and I thought I just needed more alligators, and then Hard Rain would have been 5 stars. Or a crocodile, whichever it was. I can't remember which one.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, every character starts out one way and ends up being something else, except for Christian Slater, who remains constant because he's the hero. But again, Morgan Freeman starts out as the bad guy, and you're like, oh, he's the bad guy, but then he kind of turns into like a bit of a softie. He's not that bad. It's like Betty White's this, cruel, irritating woman, but then when Henry is, almost dying, she's like, "No, Henry, please come back." And then, he basically tells her to shut the F up.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Right. and she becomes, so Henry changes, she changes, the cops change. You know what I mean? Like it's like everyone has a little bit of a character arc.
The whole of an arc.
Yeah. And well written. Need that. Like this movie didn't need to be everything that it was, and I think people wrote it off saying, "Oh, it's a flood. Oh, yeah, whatever," and then it just became Die Hard Flood Edition, or like it just became that, and it's like got shoehorned into this thing. But it doesn't. You got to evaluate the movie you're watching. Again, not the concept because I just said that, but like, evaluate the movie, but also give your reasons. Like nobody, if you read reviews, they're not actually telling you anything. Like they're just regurgitating what the plot is saying. It's like, oh, this is great. It's like, yes, and again, strong female performances, and oh, she saves the day, and it's like, and when they were reviewing, I can't remember what movie it was, or when they were promoting, I think it was Charlie's Angels, the whatever remake they're on now, and they're like, oh, it's the first time female director for this genre, or they're saying, and I'm thinking, is that the plot of this movie? No, like,
is the film any good?
Yeah,
and we're the right person for the job.
Directors?
I mean. the thing why Hard Rain works is because you can empathize with the Christian Slater character. How many of us have been in a job, we got to take it, we don't want it, and then it's like all hell breaks loose, right? Like it's a very amplified all hell breaking loose, right? And the other thing is that it's kind of funny because everyone seems to be in a job they don't like. I get the idea that the Morgan Freeman character, the reason he is a bank thief is because he's doing a job he doesn't like. He wants to get out of it. Randy Quaid's sheriff has already, he's just at the end of his term. He's just playing out the string. He doesn't really want to be there. Christian Slater doesn't really want to be there. None of the characters want to be there, right? Like Morgan Freeman probably, he's got to do this now. That's why he's doing it during the flood. Like he doesn't want to be there, like doing this. He's just like, this is the day, this is the time, we got to do it. But it's funny how everyone is like just playing out the string in their jobs, and they're all coming together. And like the thing that separates Christian Slater from the Morgan Freeman Randy Quaid character is, even though he could have just turned over the money and walked away, right, and maybe even taken a bag for himself and said, "Hey, you get one bag," he didn't. And
that's what makes him a hero.
Yeah, that's what makes him the hero. Randy Quaid goes for the money. Morgan Freeman obviously goes for the money. Like, it's really interesting when you think about it in those terms.
We'll go through some of these comments in a second. There are some good ones here, but I always thought while watching it, I kept focusing on the statue as the flood was going, and the statue is a guy on a horse with a sword, and I thought that was some foreshadowing, and I was like, oh, bad guy's going to get impaled on the sword by the end, and he didn't. I was like, but the sword's right there. You could have impaled somebody on it, and you didn't, and I'm disappointed. Why didn't you do that? You just shot the bad guy instead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say like the man on the horse is the cavalry, which never came, right? But you could say that the cavalry is the rain, because it's what really saves the Tom character a few times, because it keeps inhibiting the villains, right? Like it inhibits everyone, but it inhibits, like, if there was no flood, Tom would have been dead at the truck. I'm convinced of that. He would have been dead at the truck, right? Like, he probably would have done something stupid and they would have shot him, and then that's it.
And then that was
through his own hand. I don't think the villains would have shot him because they were working with Charlie. But you're saying that he may have, tried to stop them somehow, and then there'd be a scuffle and he would get killed that way.
Yeah.
The rain is nature. It helps and hinders in this movie. It helps him a lot, as you've pointed out. It also tries to drown him a few times. It tries to drown Minnie Driver. So it's good. It is nature. It's loving and cruel at the same time. And that's kind of an interesting. I wonder if they thought that through, if that was just a happy accident, because that's an interesting point. Even with the jobs,
it's a character itself.
Yeah, the rain is a character, but no, even with the jobs, like, everyone's kind of hating their job. I guess that probably was thought out, because they would have been writing out the character. Well, I don't know. They don't write anything for characters nowadays. They just say female, and then we're supposed to be like, yay,
that's the character.
That's the character. The character is black. That's what a character is now. It's just a black person. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'd rather hear from audience reviews or average fans, not snooty mainstream critics. They usually hate these kinds of action movies. True.
Yeah.
And then Dark Fate was so garbage, but better than Genesis. Yeah, Genesis to me is the worst Terminator movie. It's unwatchable, unwiped ass. I fucking hate it. Moving on.
We did an entire Terminator stream, so check that out. If you guys
if you haven't seen that, you can.
Action Elite.
Yeah, I think I literally said F this movie at one point regarding Genesis. A movie actually just made me angry whenever I watched it. The action genre was on a bit of a downturn in the mid to late 90s. Yeah, the action stars were starting to lose their relevance then. And then I know Van Damme was having his problems. And then even Arnie, I think, did like Eraser, and which was good, but Eraser was sort of the last classic Arnie, you could say, sort of old school Arnie before it kind of changed to sort of try and remain relevant.
Well, he kept going to like different genres, right? Too, like he kept dabbling in comedy. He got sort of sort of in that bubble where he was End of Days, the Sixth Day, Batman versus Robin. I mean, Batman and Robin, Batman versus Robin. Yeah, Batman and Robin, which didn't do him any favors.
No.
you know, like he just got really, and there's nothing wrong. Well, depending on how you look at it, there's nothing wrong with those movies. It's just that I guess people got tired of him. He was getting older, and there seems to be this idea that action stars have a best before date, and they're not the same afterwards. So Clint Eastwood's still making movies.
Stallone is arguably better than ever right now with the stuff he did with like the Rocky and Rambo movies and then the Expendables movies and everything else. I mean, Stallone has proven that age is just a number and that, you know, there is no expiry date. I think critics go into a film looking to be impressed, whereas a fan goes into a movie assuming to be impressed, but then can be let down. Yeah, more often than not, a lot these days. Movies Hurricane Heist and Force of Nature from last year remind me of this. Yeah, very much so, particularly Hurricane Heist. Which... if Helen is watching, I know you're a big fan of it, and it was fun, but it was, you know, awfully dumb as well. There's, I remember that the clouds like turn into a skull or something, and it was like really stupid. It just sort of just went just a bit too far into nonsense, but it was all right. Force of Nature had Mel Gibson in it, in a small role, but it was all right. It was same again, sort of, you know, some moving wallpaper for a while, but. Yeah, and actually, just going back to like what we're talking about with the 90s there. The 90s, there was a big like disaster movie thing, and this was sort of cashing in on that. You had like Twister, Volcano, Dante's Peak, and all these kind of movies. And then even Stallone tried one with Daylight, which nobody ever talks about, but I enjoyed that.
I like Daylight.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
That's a good movie, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw most of the disaster movies. My mother especially loves disaster movies. I saw most of these in the theater. And I quickly began to appreciate the movies that actually had a storyline and interesting things versus the ones where the entire plot was just a disaster, which is what it became. You know, especially in like Volcano, like Tommy Lee, like there's a volcano under Los Angeles. Oh, okay. Well, you know, Dante's Peak. I remember that one scene that was really crazy was someone was in the water and it was acidic and it actually was eating them and they were trying to get this boat across.
Yeah, that was a good movie. It
was okay.
Yeah, we watched it recently. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty generic disaster movie stuff, but it's pretty good. And you got Linda Hamilton in it, Queen Linda herself. Yeah.
I find that the actors make a difference in these films. Like I really enjoyed Bill Paxton in Twister.
Yes.
You know, I liked John Cusack in 2012.
Yeah, I love disaster movies. So what were you about to say there, Jay?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think if you have to go one of two ways in these kinds of movies, Hard Rain or disaster movies. If you're not gonna have the budget to do some epic destructions, then what you have to do is really focus on characters. Because it's either a spectacle movie, or it's going to be a character-driven movie, right? Where you're into these guys, you're going to be quoting the one-liners, and you're gonna walk out of the theater like, that was awesome, you know. It's like, or you make it a spectacle where you're just like, wow, this is like unbelievable, like where the story almost doesn't matter that much because you're just there for the theater experience, and you walk out and you're like, wow. And then there's some movies where you do get a good mixture of both, and then those are usually the ones that people remember. Like Dante's Peak, I don't even know if I saw that, to be honest with you. I remember it coming out. Like, I mean, Twister's one that comes to mind, where, you know, Bill Paxton's awesome, and the effects were pretty cool too. So you're like, well, this is a pretty good. Like, I bought Twister. I like Daylight. I like Stallone and Daylight. I like the soundtrack. I bought the CD. So those are the two where I'm like, yeah, I bought those, and then the other ones I just kind of, they felt like I didn't buy Volcano. It was Armageddon. When was Armageddon?
97, and
I despise that movie. By the way,
painful. That movie,
I despised it.
That movie was like a theatrical enema. Like it was just like a constant like grinding in your anus. Like it's just.
But what was the other one that came out too?
Deep Impact
or Deep Sleep,
Impact,
which is what I was put into.
Now, I like Deep Rising.
Deep Rising is awesome.
As another flood.
Yeah.
Well, that's a creature. That's really a creature.
Yeah, it's a monster movie. Yeah, but it was cool.
I have a quick story about Deep Impact. I was in I was in Massachusetts actually when that movie came out, and I went to a small theater, And I remember it was like one of those theaters where the guy who took your ticket was also the guy behind the popcorn stand. It was that small, right? And we went and saw Deep Impact because like, it's a disaster movie. It looks kind of interesting. It's got a great cast. Remember the cast in that was like insane. And it was one of those theaters that had if you buy a large popcorn and a large drink, you get free refills. And we're like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's get that. Not remembering that United States portions are way larger than Canadian.
It's like, here's your popcorn.
Larger. I mean, they gave you a garbage bag full of popcorn, right? And the drinks were like this, like literally like this. And I remember I'm like, who's getting free refills? Well, sure enough, we're sitting there, and this larger couple was sitting in front of, a few rows down. They got up in the middle of the movie to get more popcorn and more pop. And I was like, that became the movie for me. I didn't care what was happening on screen. I'm like, how many times are these guys going to go up for free refills? That's the only thing that interests me. I remember nothing about that movie.
Well, the problem with like Deep Impact and like Armageddon and Deep Impact were the same type of, they both dealt with meteoroids and stuff like that, or asteroids, but they both came out around the same time. So like one kind of omitted the other, like Armageddon kind of like pushed Deep Impact out of the way because of Michael Bay and everything. But then like you had Volcano and Dante's Peak, same thing. Volcano and Dante's Peak came out at the same time. So Volcano kind of pushed Dante's Peak out of the way. Although I enjoyed Dante's Peak better. I mean, he had James Bond and Sarah Connor in it.
What's not to like? Yeah.
But Tommy Lee Jones, I mean, he's great in anything he did, but it's like, so, and then the same thing with White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen, Olympus Fallen just totally crushed White House Down. It's like, it's like, you're going to make a PG, like Gerard Butler, it's like, you're going to make a PG-13 movie, I'm going to frickin' shoot that in the head, so it's like, it's like all the same type of movies are coming, they came out at the same time. And one would always, obviously rise to the top, and one would be forgotten about. And that's what happened with all those. That's why, like, Steven doesn't remember Deep Impact, but it's
no,
So it's like if you mention Deep Impact to people would be like, "What?" But and J-Man, I know you hate Armageddon, but you mentioned Armageddon, everybody like Michael Bay, they're gonna know it. So it's like, unfortunately, that's the way it is. When it's more like Deep Impact was more of a drama. Where Armageddon was a full-blown Michael Bay spectacle, So it's like it's kind of unfortunate because that one had more of a character-driven thing going on.
Yeah,
I actually like Armageddon. Fight me.
Oh, we're gonna fight over it. I can't watch it again though to make points. Like normally I watch and take notes. I can't bring myself to watch it again.
Yeah, I can't. Listen,
it's terrible but awesome at the same time. Mostly I love the music.
I had the soundtrack for a long time. Yeah.
You didn't let me finish on one. I love Armageddon. I do. I'm sorry. Shoot me, sue me, whatever you got to do. But
I am. Can I get your address? I'm going to get my lawyer to sue you on that one. I need your address.
So Armageddon is written by J.J. Abrams and directed by Michael Bay. It is the unholy, like all it needed to be done is produced by the Superman Lives guy, whose name I temporarily forget, and it would have been the unholy the unholy Trinity. Like,
and then it could have been endorsed by Kevin Smith, and then
there you go.
Like, this is like the worst. Like,
this is the worst. This is like the tag team of terror, man. This is like no one going near this movie. It's like Uwe Boll. Like, it's directed by Uwe Boll. It's like, sure, I'll be first in line.
I will say Michael Bay can direct the shit out of an action scene, and his movies always look fantastic. The script and characters are always terrible. I mean, that's just kind of a given, except in 13 Hours and The Rock, which are his two best movies.
I was just going to say 13 Hours is his best movie.
Yeah, 13 Hours was one where you're like, wait, this is Michael Bay, and John Krasinski and everything, and you're like, wow, this is actually a really genuinely good movie. So he is capable of making really entertaining movies. The problem was he did so many Transformers movies, and I'm glad he sort of moved away from that. He did Six Underground.
Yeah,
you know what? I can't really say anything.
Island. I heard The Island was actually quite good.
I like The Island.
I like The Island too. Yeah,
Looks nice. Great music.
I actually haven't finished Six Underground. I started watching it, and I think I fell asleep just because I was tired from work, but I never went back to watch the rest.
I remember Six Underground. I tried watching once. I think I was on a plane, and it was too noisy. So I was watching it. I was like, no, I'd rather listen to the noise of the plane than the noise of this movie. So I turned it off. And then a few months later, I came back and then I watched it again, and I was like, oh, it's all right. At least had lots of explosions and things like that. But it's one of those, like, Michael Bay always makes movies where you watch them and sometimes you enjoy it, and then as soon as the end credits roll, you're like, wait, what did I just watch again? It doesn't really stick with you.
I'll tell the story. I'll tell the story I've told a million times to J-Man, but I'll tell you guys because I don't think. So Bruce Campbell wrote a book. His first book was about largely about his experience making Evil Dead. And there was one night where like everyone came home like around 2 a.m. and the production designer he had all of his food out for them. And they just like pigged out and they all passed out because they ate so much. And the next morning, Bruce Campbell was underneath the table. Like that's where he passed out. And Sam Raimi was in his rocker. Like everyone just died. And the production guy came and he woke up Sam Raimi, and Sam Raimi looked at him and he's like, "You drugged and violated me, didn't you?" And I kind of feel that way when I watch a Michael Bay movie. Like I've just been drugged and violated. Like someone went through my pockets. I might have been the UFO where you get anally probed. Like something has happened to me that I probably don't want to admit in public. Right? That's my Michael Bay experience usually.
They're also very long.
Yeah.
I find that with most movies these days. It's like everything is over 2 hours, and I'm like, no, I like 90 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes. That's after an hour and 45 minutes. I'm like,
100 minutes. It doesn't need more than 100 minutes. If
you got to be able to tell your story.
Lawrence of Arabia, like Ben-Hur, Lawrence of Arabia. That those are epics. Not Armageddon or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I always say an hour and 45 minutes because 5 minutes for the credits. You got an hour and 40 in movies.
Yeah.
I'm always so happy.
Easy.
I love 90 minutes. I love a movie where you can watch it and it's so short. Like, see, whenever I get, I'm about to watch a movie and then I'm like, 90 minutes, brilliant. But then whenever I get one, it's like, 140 minutes or something. I'm like, no. I don't. I just don't want to watch it. It's like I have a job. I don't have time.
My heart sinks a little bit. Just like, oh god.
I don't want.
That's why Commando's such a great movie. It's 90 minutes long, and half of it's the ending where he's freaking blowing up shit.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to say it. Commando is the perfect action movie. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Never
I don't
better,
like
really.
too many scenes either. Like that's what I was saying. Hard Rain Commando is good too. Like, give me 3 memorable ones, not 17 non-memorable ones, right?
Yeah.
Like I always go to Hard Boiled, which is my favorite action movie. That's a 2-hour action movie, but there's a lot. It's like there's like tea house, there's like hospital, there's the storage, that storage area. Those are the big 3 ones, and they're super epic and crazy. And I can remember the locations. I can remember all the cool stuff that happened in that location. Like if it starts getting to the point where there's so much going on, then there's nothing going on at that point, right? It's like, I can't chapter to it. Like I'm like, oh dude, you got to watch this tea house scene. Bang, go to the tea house. And then there's like the big scene and bang, go to that storage lot, that factory that they're in, right? The steel factory. And then it's the hospital's the last like half an hour in the hospital.
The best chapterable movie I think there is The Protector. Like, boom, let's go to the restaurant. Boom, it's the restaurant scene all the way.
It's 4 minutes, one take.
Yeah. Like that sort of thing. Like that's when we have all the memorable stuff.
Yeah, Fast 9. It's fast. What? This ain't fast. I like the first like 2 or 3, and then I got to one of them. I was like, Jesus Christ, how long is this garbage?
I know.
And it's like, and it's just cars driving around. Like, this is not memorable. I don't remember the last Fast and Furious I remember was friggin' Fast Furious Part 3 because they were drifting, and I'm like, ooh, I've never seen this before. That's cool. right? And then the next one is like heist, family, heist. I'm like, what is happening here? It's like, who has bigger muscles? Everyone literally they're coming in there, and I thought it was Pump and Iron. It's Mr. Olympia. It's like, okay, I don't care about you guys. It's like, what is happening here? I know and they're like 2 hours plus music. What is happening? Fast. This is not fast. These should be 80 minutes.
It should be. Yeah, it was funny. Jimmy just said here, Close Range with Scott Adkins has to be one of the most lean, action-packed movies in recent memory. I think it's like 80 minutes minus end credits, and it is. They apparently like struggle to like fill it through the runtime of it. So
yeah, you need 85 to call. What's the time you need? 80 or 85 to call feature length?
Time is all about.
I think it's 70 to 75 minutes is feature length.
75 minutes is your mark. Yeah,
it's like 70 or 75. They say it's feature length if it's like 70, 75 minutes.
Yeah, but action, horror, comedy, 90 minutes.
Yeah,
drama, 100. Done.
Yeah, there's a movie which celebrates its 30th anniversary in a few weeks, and we're doing a live stream, and you're all invited, and you all have to show up. And if you haven't seen the movie, well, you're a disgrace. Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Oh, phew.
Yeah. I was going to say, a lot was riding on that title, man.
Jesus Christ. I was like, so it's right there. It's Dolph Lundgren, so we're okay on that one.
So I think we need to do a celebratory 30th anniversary live stream on that. We'll just talk about that and then maybe celebrate the career of Brandon Lee, all too short that it was.
Yeah.
I only think I saw that once. I think I have to watch it again.
Oh, you're gonna
I'm being sarcastic.
Oh my God!
Get off my live stream.
I was gonna say, it's like you're gonna be hungry for when they're eating.
You thought
sushi?
I was serious? Did you think I was serious? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe that.
We don't know.
No, hell no. I could recite that movie in my sleep.
Oh, okay. Well,
now what would be awesome to make the live stream good is if we did eat sushi off naked chicks while discussing the movie.
Well,
that was the only time where I was really to eat. I was like, well, I gotta have some sushi.
I'm hungry all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I went to a sushi bar and they didn't have that. And I thought, this is false advertising. I saw this showdown. Where's the Showdown in Little Tokyo section?
Where's the naked chicks, good sir?
Like we Showdown in Little Tokyo, I was bummed that we didn't get I needed 2 or 3 or 4 more of those movies.
Yeah, I love the characters. Yeah. That's all we're going to say about it tonight, because we're going to do a show in that the next couple of weeks, because I can't remember what date it is, but it's the next few weeks. So, and we're going to be doing one with a special guest soon. I'm not going to say who, just in case it falls through, because these things happen. But hopefully, if it does, it's going to be awesome, and you're all going to love it. So we'll see how that goes. Does anybody else have anything else they wish to add?
This is part of the Hard trilogy for me, the Hard Rain, Hard Target, Hard Boiled, which are like...
That's right, man. I feel like we should do a Hard Boiled one too. We should do a Hard Boiled live stream.
Oh, I have the soundtrack to that sucker too, man. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but every time I watch it, I think I'm sweating more than the people that are in the actual movie.
I know.
It's freaking insane. It's like, how did Chow Yun-Fat not die making that movie?
I don't know.
That would be an absolute pleasure on Deadly Ground or on a direct-to-DVD Seagal. Oh yeah,
we should just do Seagal. I mean, like I said, I'm a champion of Seagal. I'm sorry, but even his bad movies, I freaking watch this shit out of them.
I can come in for the the first.
Yeah.
The real movies, and then after that, it's like it's over, John.
Yeah, well,
I checked out.
Yeah, I mean, he's done so many, and mostly he's dubbed in them or whatever, and they're mostly unwatchable. But it's a couple of good ones. More Pistol Whip was pretty good. And a few others, but
here's my thing, and this is the only thing I'll say with it is his movies now are better when he's got a younger guy in it that's doing the kick-ass. Like Byron Mann did Absolution, and what was the other one? It escapes me right now.
Yeah, Luke Goss as well.
Belly of the Beast. Byron Mann was sensational in this movie. And then he did a Good Man with Victor Webster, who did a show called Mutant X, who's a martial artist. And he did fighting in that movie. It's like and then Attrition, if you saw that movie, there was all these other people that were legit martial artists surrounding him, doing all the action pretty much. It
still sucked though. I watched it and I was like, it's still terrible.
But it's those are the movies they know what to do with Seagal now. It's let's surround him with other guys that can actually do something so we can kind of salvage.
Get him a Happy Meal and we'll do the stuff around him.
But I always go back to Black Dawn, though, like the sequel to The Foreigner. That staircase fight scene is the. They didn't even try to make it look like it was Steven Seagal. The wig wasn't even a match.
Yeah.
I think it was like brown, not even black. And it's like go back and just watch that scene. You don't have to watch the movie, but just watch that scene.
Yeah, don't make me watch the movie again, please.
It's the most horrendous thing I've ever seen. And to this day, I laugh my ass off when I watch it. Like, they didn't even try to make it look like Steven Seagal. They didn't even try.
Oh, I know. I have a review for Attack Force in drafts on the site. I can't remember if I give it half a star or 1 star or whatever, but it's actually not Seagal's fault. It's terrible because it was messed around with like the producers and everything. So I got to post that in the next week or so. But yeah, I love the idea of having On Deadly Ground. We're gonna have Sean back on so we can talk about whenever they showed it at school, which is awesome. That's a school I wish I'd gone to.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
On Deadly Ground.
My school story, which I'll tell if we get said person on, that is the most outrageous, in my opinion, the most outrageous movie to watch in school ever. But anyway,
yeah.
Well, you watched Ninja 3, didn't you? In school? You said it? Yeah, it's like
that's the best thing ever. I never did.
I know.
Yeah, in school.
I got.
I'd seen it before though. I'd seen it before that, so I'd already seen it.
I got Amadeus and the Outsiders. Like that's what I got.
Amadeus, like come on.
Okay, we did get 89 Batman.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's like I got a Mice and Men and Romeo and Juliet, which I get. They're classics, but it's like I would have been like, show me my canon movies. I'm like, I'll watch that at school.
All right, well, I think that's it. There's just one other Christian Slater movie we hadn't mentioned. I know he did a bunch, but I always liked it, even though his accent was kind of terrible. It was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
You know what?
Me cleared it.
That was the biggest. That and Young Guns 2. Like at that point, I'm like, why isn't Christian Slater just like the star of whatever movies he's in? Like he had a very small role in both Young Guns 2 and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And I was like stunned. And then they decided to make him Robin Hood's brother. Where I was like, even in like at that point, I'd seen the other one with the classic one, and I'm like, Will Scarlet wasn't his brother. What the hell are they talking about? Like
Errol Flynn?
Yeah, the Errol Flynn one. Yeah,
I just remember when that came out because everybody was making a big deal how Kevin Costner didn't do a British accent, because he was Kevin Costner. He's like, I don't need to do one. I'm just going to do this with my regular accent. It's like, but
I'm Robin of Locksley. I'm from England. I don't think you are.
I got to tell you, that was the first VHS movie I ever bought.
Oh, really?
I love that movie, but I understand the knowing. I thought that too. I'm like, he's British, right? Like, it's like this. I'm like, I'm quite certain of this. I'm a Robin Hood nerd. I'm like, this seems weird, but I still love that movie. It's a lot of great action and stuff.
I do. Yeah, great music as well. The score is good, and then Alan Rickman and Michael Wincott.
I was just gonna say he acted the shit out of that movie.
He stole the show, man. He stole the show. I'm going to cut your heart out with a spoon. And Michael,
why a spoon, cousin? Because it's hurt more.
He's trying to have sex with her at the end, like he's trying to consummate the marriage. He spreads her legs.
It's funny that got cut on the DVD release in the UK because like there's a director's cut of the movie, but there's a few scenes which have been removed because I always remember seeing the movie in the theater because I always remember when Sean Connery appeared at the end and we were like, yes, because I'm Scottish, so that was awesome. But there's the rape scene, which essentially it is, because he actually does thrust in the version I saw in the theater, but then also whenever I think it's Will Scarlet is taken back by Friar Tuck, I can't remember his name, Little John, and he opens his shirt and he has all the whips in over him, and he goes, "Bugger me," but he never says that in the DVD version in the UK. Now I don't know if that's cut here or if that's in it or not.
No, it's there.
It is. Yeah, see that was all removed when it hit VHS and DVD. That was all cut. So I have the director's cut, which I believe you gave to me, Stephen. So I must give that a watch soon and see if that stuff's all back in it, because I always remember anything I watch in a movie whenever I see it the first time, and then I watch it again, and it's not there. It's like whenever I watched Kickboxer, Van Damme movie, and there's like so many scenes that aren't in it in the US version, which I'm so used to growing up. It's like a deleted scene with Kurt's brother, and he's like, "You fuck him up, Kurt! You fuck him up bad!" And he's like in the hospital shouting at him to take out Tong Po. And then the pedicab seems a little longer as well, but for some reason it's cut out.
It's weird with regions. Like sometimes they cut violence and the movie becomes too short, so they replace it with other scenes of more dialogue. That's the famous Halloween story,
TV version.
The TV version, which I don't prefer, to be honest. And we could talk about that whenever we do our thingy. But I don't prefer that. I want the streamline.
I do like it though.
I like that scene, but I don't want to. I want to learn as least that amount as possible about Michael Myers. I don't want to see him engaging with anybody. I like that we could never reach him. He was just unreachable. I like that better. But
that's
anyway,
it. Yeah. Anyway, that's the story for another day.
what about Hollow Man 2 and Alone in the Dark? Some of the horror movie and then
Alone in the Dark. Oh my god,
I saw that in the theater.
I had that in my notes too. I was like, yeah, that movie is totally. That's a guilty pleasure.
That's a guilty pleasure. It's fun.
I mean, it is. I mean, and then you got Stephen Dorff in it too. I mean, acting the shit out of it. It's like,
yeah.
And then the ending. What's up with the ending? It's like, it's like, and then the credits go. It's like, did they die? What happened?
Yeah.
I don't even know what the frick happened.
I think there's supposed to be. I think there's supposed to be more because it's a game. It's a video game series, right? So
yeah, they were probably supposed to make sequels, and then of course they didn't make any money.
That didn't happen. My mom's boss, his son worked on the special effects for that movie, so he was talking it up, and I liked it. And Hollow Man 2.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's Christian Slater.
I love the first one, but I've never seen the second. Yeah.
I saw that one a long time ago too. Yeah, I think I saw that once. I think I saw both of them once, like the first one and the second.
The first one's really good.
The first one was great. Yeah.
Well, Kevin Bacon, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I can't remember the second one, but I know I saw it at one point in my life.
He even did a good turn in Dolan's Cadillac, which was a Stephen King adaptation I watched with him and Wes Bentley. And in that one, he plays a mob boss, and he's quite like creepy and I think sinister. Like it Christian Slater never got he never got the right credit for his versatility. Like in Heathers, he's a complete monster. Like he starts out as like you're with him, but then he's like, as he goes along, you're like, this guy's a psychopath.
Yeah, he's actually nuts.
Yeah,
I'm kind of with him.
And
I was like, I don't care. I'm with him anyway. Screw it.
he was crazy in True Romance. He was Lucky Luciano in Mobsters.
Yeah.
Mobsters. Oh my god.
But then he could be a hero in Hard Rain or Broken Arrow or Pump Up the Volume. I loved him in The Wizard. Like I loved him in Bold Bridges.
Oh, for sure.
Like traveling the country and I always remember that scene where Christian Slater wakes up in Bold Bridges is playing Turtles. Yeah. He's like, I'm just on the third level, or he said it's going to be the Technodrome, and Christian Slater's like, oh, you're being the Technodrome.
But Christian Slater was playing the game first, and then Bold Bridges is like, it doesn't take much intelligence to play that game, does it? He's like, you ought to know. And then he goes to sleep and he wakes up and he's like, oh, in this way. He's like, I almost had the scroll weapon and I almost defeated Mega Turtle. He's like, okay, you got the scroll weapon.
I want to talk about Cuffs a bit more because I love Cuffs. And I watched it recently because it's funny watching it now, and I was like, his character's just like total dick, actually, because he's going to abandon his pregnant girlfriend, and that's his arc. Obviously, is that he comes back, and it's Mila Jovovich, and I was like, what are you nuts? I'll take over.
That's my favorite Christian Slater movie. I remember it. I saw it in theaters and I love it. He's such a slacker. It's like he gets his brother's police business, because he died. And then he all he wants is to get out of it. He doesn't want anything to do with it.
It doesn't want responsibility.
It's the funniest movie ever. I laugh every and when the assassin's trying to kill him, and he's trying to cook dinner for his girlfriend who's coming over. It's like it's the best.
And also, I believe J-Man, it was you that pointed this out to me, was the bad guy wears a t-shirt with a photo of himself on it.
Kane.
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 The shirt is his face. And you're like,
he's like, where do you shop? Where do you get your clothes or whatever?
But
Cuffs is brilliant, but it's actually like with all the comedy, it's really good. Like the idea of the police specials is like, I think that's where we're going, to be honest with you, where it's like all privately owned. Like I'm like, wow, that's a really interesting concept. He takes the bribe, he takes the money, and he still arrests.
And he still arrests them. He's like, I thought we had an understanding. He's like, we did. You gave money to protect your interest, but Mr. Wang here gave me money as well to protect his interest. So he goes, now, Kane, you and I are cool, right? Because if we weren't cool, I pull out my gun and put it to your head and blow your damn head up. But I don't have to do that with you, Kane, because we're all cool. He's like, okay. And that movie's genius. And even running, he's like, why are we running? Aren't we going to be in cars?
The best scene, though, is the guy coming to the door and it was like, freeze, make us
or when him and Tolly Goldwyn are in the car and Tolly Goldwyn just pissed at him and he said the F word and they're bleeping it. Like,
that's right.
And then at the end he's like, "Fuck you." So because you can say it only one time at a PG-13.
Yeah. Well, because they're breaking the fourth wall in that movie too.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a lot
Deadpool
of fun.
before Deadpool. Yeah.
Arkansas Dave Rudabaugh.
Yes,
That
Arkansas Dave.
Young Guns 2.
That's Young. I love Young Guns 1 and 2. Really.
So do I, but I prefer 2. There's been out there. So
I like both. I did.
In an awesome piece of news, I remember I did Young Guns versus Young Guns 2.
Yeah.
Blue Diamond Phillips retweeted it.
Wow.
So
Nice.
just putting that out there.
Nice.
Chavez.
That's the best, like, you know, because we don't get paid to do this. It's like
No.
And I'm like I'm a kid.
I'm done. I thought we were getting paid, Owen. What happened?
This live stream is over.
Checks
in the mail.
Yeah, checks in the mail.
But
Courtesy of Jack Burton.
I'm like a kid in a candy store. Like every time Scott Adkins would share my shit, I'd be like, "Oh my god!" I take pictures of it, and I'll be. I'm such
I know. That's
but
awesome, though, because somebody's actually recognizing what you do.
Or like Mark Dacascos just on Instagram did something of mine, and I'm like, oh my god, he actually likes my article. I mean, because it was an article that was technically from Variety or something. So, but I wrote it, shared it, but he put mine. I'm like, hey,
that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. You know what Mark Dacascos has done for me? Squat! Absolutely nothing at all.
I thought you were going to say some great thing.
Not a goddamn thing. Yeah.
We're doing a trash live stream. That's it, buddy.
Well, you know what? Watch it pop up in the screen. It'll be like, oh, hey, how's it going?
You'll be like, aloha, bitches.
It'll be like, it's all good.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
All right, well, I gotta I don't go cry because I'm getting my second vaccine tomorrow morning, so don't expect to hear much from me for a few days. So because I hope I'm just going to say this because frankly I think it's fucking funny, but after I had the first shot, and Stephen, you know this, and I'm going to tell this story, I don't know if anybody else has had the side effect with getting the vaccine, but my left ass cheek was sore for 2 days. So I'm hoping that after this one, my right cheek will be sore and then sort of evens out a bit. So we'll see.
Did you get the shot like in your ass cheek?
Yeah, I mean, I had to take my pants off, which isn't normal, I don't think. Yeah, and I was in prison, so yeah.
It would be more fun. It would be more fun if you got it in your shoulder and your left ass cheek still hurt. It's like, why is my left ass cheek still hurt?
I know. Well,
are you serious, Owen? You got it in your bum? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like
they're like, arm, you pants off.
Yeah, I was in an abandoned prison.
That scared the crap out of me. No pun intended. It's like, dude, yeah, pull your pants on. What?
No one else did.
No. The sore ass thing, that is true. That did happen.
What kind of shot am I getting here?
That's not a shot in the ass I was expecting, but okay.
Moon River.
Did Did you have like that donut that you sit on, like like the sit in the chair, like you can use for this?
Maybe you paid for it. He just asked me to pick up the soap a couple of times. Like, okay, I don't know why you can't do it
That's
yourself.
why they
But...
kept dropping it.
yeah, I
weird.
see. It makes so much sense now.
Oh my god.
On that classy note, I think we can call it a night.
Where the hell did this go?
Yeah, it went downhill real bad, and I haven't even been drinking. So, all right, well, we'll see what happens in the next week or two. Whenever we're going to plan the next one, we're definitely going to do Showdown in Little Tokyo. That's coming. I got to find out what the date it is when it turns 30th. I can't remember when, but we'll do that soon. All right, hold on. Comment here before we go.
That's from Fletch. So he knew when I said Moon River because I sang Moon River. That's from Fletch. Good call.
Nice reference. Yeah.
Nice, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm going to head out. So thanks everyone for watching, and we shall see you probably next week at some point. We'll decide on some nonsense to talk about, and I promise there'll be no prison rape or anything next show.
But he may be sitting on his left ass cheek instead of his right.
Yeah, so I'll let you know if my ass is okay for the next show, and I'll take it. So I'll have you and Jay and Stephen over sometime soon. Yep.
Yeah, we gotta do something. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hang out again like old times. All right. Well, thanks, guys, and we'll see you all next time. Peace out.